I'm very down on the LSU offense right now. Obviously, they were awful against Auburn. I see a lot of empty stats against Tennessee. I don't see a lot of rhythm or execution. It's very clunky feeling. Philosophically, again, my boy Chase hit the nail on the head when he was talking about this last week where we were watching the game. He's like, this just feels awful. Like their offense feels so threatening, like they're driving like a supercar, like a Ferrari or something, and you're out here just like puttering along on a Vespa. It felt awful. It's why I don't have a lot of faith that you can take advantage of a bad Florida defense. Where do you stand currently with this LSU offense?
Well, let's see. As you said, so I usually go into the podcast that we do at 10:30 where we do break down film. I usually go into that kind of like I would go into a college exam. Like I cram like the 30 minutes right before.
Yep.
So I've only watched like the first quarter.
Smart.
But I will say, it's got to be fresh on the brain.
To be clear, I didn't even rewatch it because this is a burn the tape game.
Yeah.
So you know what? I just burned it.
Burn the tape. Let's just go forward. Let's move forward.
Yeah. We're on to Florida.
Okay. So yes, the offense not good. There's no rhythm. There's no identity. I would say the biggest identity that we've had all year is big plays by Jayden Daniels' feet. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see anything different this past week that I haven't seen all year. I don't think we've been very threatening at any point this year. I don't think we've
explosive rating. They're awful, or like passing explosiveness. I can't remember exactly what the analytical term is, but they're like 120th or something. We'll get Brody Miller to fill us in on the exact analytics later.
Yeah. So let's delete Southern game. Let's delete New Mexico, and then look at all the other bodies of work.
Power 5 games have not been good.
We just have not looked like an all-around polished good offense or a good team in general. Well, we've won games. Our record is, 4-2?
Probably and the Mississippi State win is great, but every other one's been tough sled.
Yeah, you're going to have to make more explosive plays. But from a rhythm standpoint, what I see is we don't execute the simple things in the passing game good enough to be able to execute the more challenging things. So, like I've said it, like you can't be explosive. You can't have deep throws. You can't get the defense on their heels if you don't do like the basics right. And the basics right are complete easy throws. Make quick reads, get the ball out of your hand. Like we don't do that.
The ball does seem to sit back there for a while sometimes. Like there's been a lot of clean pockets that have ended up collapsing on.
Yeah, and just watching, I think Jayden Daniels has strengths and he has weaknesses, just like everybody else. I don't think he reads top to bottom, left to right. I don't think that's a strength. I think what his strength is getting the ball out of his hands. I think he makes pretty good decisions on quick game, and I think that he's good if we were to implement the RPO system a little bit more.
But
we're not.
If you have a quarterback whose greatest strength is running the ball, and it's not even one that you're really worried about taking hits because of the unique kind of mercenary relationship of this year. Like both sides need to go all in on this. Why would Denbrock not tailor this offense to feature more RPO?
I mean, it's a good question because at this level, like there's plays out there that are there to be made. Okay, so there's I think it's a 2nd and 5. It's early in the first quarter. There's like 10.5 minutes left. There's basically a deep cross route. So they do a 7-man protection. They keep the tight end, they keep the back end, and 2 receivers to the right, 1 receiver to the left. And so the 2 receivers, one of them runs a deep cross.
Yep.
And his job is to pick the other, the DB from the solo receiver side who's running another deep cross. And the outside receiver to the 2 receiver side runs a deep post. They get great protection. Nobody's there even close to touching him.
Well, and if it's play I'm thinking of, aren't they only rushing 4?
Yeah, and they're blocking with 7.
And they got 7 blocking.
Yep, and so that is a top down. You read the the single high safety.
Okay.
And if he backs up, you read your crossers.
Okay.
Down to the deep cross. If he bites up on the deep cross, you take the post. Like the post is there for a touchdown. He's got to throw it about 43 to 44 yards down the field, right down the middle of the field. He's got the arm to do it. Most college quarterbacks do. If not, the deep cross is there. He does scramble out, and you can attribute that to a lot of things. Maybe he didn't get a good read on the safety, which is fine. I mean, people miss that miss that read in the NFL every single weekend. Like
Yeah.
it happens. That's the human error in the game. That's why the game's great. But he takes off and he kind of feels pressure and takes off. I think he gets like 3 or 4 yards scrambling, but it's one you'd like to see him hang in there. But the body of work that we've put throughout the year is the protection hadn't been that great. So
Yeah.
especially early in the game when the juices are high, when you haven't really settled into the game, it's frustrating because he takes off. He doesn't need to scramble. He's got a touchdown throw, or he's got another throw that'd probably make about 30, 35 yards. And he gets out of the pocket and he scrambles. And, you can't just say, oh, Jayden, don't do that, because you coach it and you say, hey, don't do that. But, again, he's been beat up a little bit this year, and the protection hadn't been there. So that was the best protection I've seen LSU do the entire season. Like, he could have stayed back there for 6 or 7 seconds, but it's hard
He's been conditioned.
You don't teach a quarterback. You teach a quarterback not to look down at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You have to feel the rush, and I think he just might have felt – he might have seen a defender's arm or shoulder flash outside of his offensive lineman's body frame, and maybe that was just his
Well,
note,
I mean, I don't know. You know better than I do. I'm sure he has an internal clock that is ticking, and if he feels like, wait, I've been back here a little long and I'm still clean, like the end is coming soon. Okay, so how fixable is this week to week? As LSU really needs to try to get it as fixed as possible going into this Florida.
Well, you hope that you hope that you see improvement for everybody. And I say he. I'm not just talking about Jayden. I'm not pointing at him, because I don't think that 100% of the time we're getting crisp routes from the receivers. Obviously, we don't get great protection. But
how do you feel about the 7-man protections overall? Because I feel like
I don't love them. I don't love them as a base protection. I really liked that call early on.
Okay, cool.
Because it's a really good pass concept. I'd like to see the tight end or running back, if they do a 7-man protection, I'd like to see them be able to trickle out at the end, just to give a little bit of an outlet.
If they're only rushing 4, just give him somebody to just dump the ball to.
Yeah, exactly.
It
is fixable.
How are we still yelling for that this many years? Like, I don't know. Whatever. Okay,
what's funny? I've talked about this. Like, Sean Payton, as awesome of a, he did that a lot.
He just went and trigger.
He would 7-man slide protection with a tight end and running back all the time, and it worked because his receivers and his quarterback were really smart, and they could sit down in windows and holes and read the defense. But I regress.
Okay.
I don't know, how fixable is it? It is. I mean, everything's fixable. You just have to you have to play to you have to design the game plan to your players' strengths. And we're not in the building every day, so we don't know what really the strengths and weaknesses are. We can kind of look at the body of work, but I would love to see more quick game. I'd love to see RPOs be implemented, and then throw in the shot plays and just keep teaching, keep grinding on Jayden on the reads. And, we used to call it a Mardi Gras read, which is it's a top-down read. And so you look deep, and you look deep to short.